It's Spoilerin time, the companion show to Cordkillers. On Cordkillers, we talk about all the ways you can watch and the things you possibly could watch. Then when we've watched some of them, we come over here to Spoilerin time and we spoil the things we watched. This week, we're going to talk about the season finale of season 2 of Hannibal, episode 13. Jupiter's Legacy, episodes 5 and 6 of season 1, and episodes 4 through 10, the remainder of season 1 of MODOK. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Yo, okay, look, we got a tasty buffet up in front of us. Some of it I've sampled, some of it I've eaten, all of it. Where would you like to begin, sir?
We would like to start you with an aperitif of MODOK. MODOK, episodes
that was a
4 through
hard
10.
left turn. I thought for sure you were making a Hannibal reference. That's amazing.
Yes, I am going to continue to make Hannibal references until we're actually talking about Hannibal.
Okay, great.
Yes. MODOK 4 through 10. As Bryce and I were talking about in our group chat this week, which nobody listening or watching has heard, it felt like it was trying to address some of the things that you didn't love about the first 3 episodes, Brian. You saw him acting more as a father. He lost a few things. He got a little more humanized. He became down and out. They tried to generate sympathy. Did any of that work for you?
So I can't know things I've already learned about MODOK and the Marvel universe or whatever. Like, I grew up reading the comics.
You've got pre-existing MODOK knowledge that is fighting with this version of MODOK.
Well,
it sounds like.
Exactly. Like it creates a cognitive dissonance, and it's like I wonder in an alternate universe if I might have truly loved this series if it wasn't anything Marvel related. Like when I watch the beginning of it, I see the comic book pages flipping, and I think, yeah, it would have been better if this was not a Marvel anything. We're in a world now where it's like I'm watching Invincible and Jupiter's Legacy and The Boys, and it's like in DC universe, like just make up a universe. Who cares? Yes, we get it. Superheroes are a thing. Like, how in any way is the story of MODOK made better by being in the Marvel universe? And for the life of me, I can't think of a single reason it's better for being in the Marvel universe.
John Hamm as Iron Man. John Hamm as Iron Man.
Okay, well, okay.
John Hamm is
I can only think of
look,
one
man, if we're
reason.
taking brownie points, that's an incredible plus.
No, and you're right. And keep in mind, this comes from somebody who expected to hate Lower Decks because it's set in the Star Trek universe, but instead loved it all the more for it. So it's like, I don't know if that makes me a hypocrite or if it makes me more thoughtful about whether or not being set in any particular universe is a good or a bad thing.
I think it's a great example of what I'm always trying to say, which is we all bring our own experience into a story. Now, usually, I mean, slightly more nebulous things like, I grew up missing boots. So the Iron Man's boot thing really affected me differently, right? Which is a silly example. But, we all bring our own experiences.
It's totally true.
And things are going to land differently for different people. So you're going to enjoy something in a different way than everyone else. That's why I don't think there is an objective, like it's good or bad. There's a collective, like most people are going to like this. Most people are not going to like this. And I think that's valuable. But we all experience things different ways. And I think that's the difference between you and me. I had no idea who MODOK was before watching this. I've never read a MODOK comic, I have no background on the character at all. And I kind of enjoyed it. And it got better as it went along for me. I thought it was a little obvious at the beginning. And as it went along, I'm like, oh, okay, they're deepening these relationships and this is interesting. And I had some moments where I literally laughed out loud. There were some good jokes. I'm not raving about MODOK still, but every episode I watched was a little more enjoyable than the previous one. And so watching the last 7, I thought was going to be a chore, ended up just being a nice thing. I did a couple other things while I watched it, but it was a nice thing to have on in the background, and I enjoyed it.
I will definitely, disclosure, I made it to, I think I was halfway through episode 8 of 10. But I think this is a fine story with a fine rhythm and cadence to its joke telling, with a fine setting of absurdism, meets stakes
Mhm.
or whatever. Um, uh, I think I would have enjoyed everything about this a little bit more if it wasn't set in the Marvel universe. I think it actively took something away
Wow.
that it was
Mhm.
set in something adjacent to the MCU. Um, it wasn't like there were deep cut references that really excited me and like, oh my God, I'm so thankful that I, spent 3 years reading this arc of,
Sure, sure.
Gray
Yeah. This
Hulk
it
series, whatever.
and that probably contributed to my enjoyment because I never felt like that was happening. The references were here's Iron Man. You probably know Iron Man from the Iron Man movies or his appearances in the Avengers as Iron Man. Like they didn't go deep. Didn't
Yeah.
seem like it.
So the position I find myself in, and maybe you can help me find moral clarity here, is that I suspect, yes, it's very Robot Chicken because that's the team making.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's fine. They have a rhythm and flow and a pace
And
and a
very Patton
style.
Oswalt, right?
Correct. All things that
Who wrote
that
a
have
lot of this?
amazing merits to them.
Thank you.
The big thing I just don't know is like would I'm not talking about for everybody. I'm talking about for
Mhm.
me. Would I have enjoyed this more if it wasn't a Marvel thing? And I got to admit, I think I would have. I think I've if you brought it to me as an independent something something, I think I would have enjoyed it more. I think I liked it
Even
less.
even with, I mean, with Marvel, right? They like legitimately have timelines. You can't. Are you able to just section it off like, oh, this is actually the MODOK timeline? Because I'm certain that this is not going to affect the MCU. Of course, John Hamm
No,
is
of
not going to
course,
be
yeah.
Iron Man,
Yeah, well,
but that would be great actually if he was. But
he-
this is definitely like its own continuity.
Oh man, there's a Toast of London episode I need you to watch now.
I hope it's not the second one.
Here's what I suspect is ultimately I can't divorce the fact that back in the 1980s when D&D was big and spin-offs of D&D like role-playing systems were big, there was something called the Marvel Superheroes role-playing system. And there was also a monthly periodical called Marvel Universe or something. It was basically an encyclopedia of every single hero and all of their abilities and who was more powerful than the other guy and what they could and could not do. And so there's these schoolyard arguments about like, I remember almost getting in a fist fight because I was arguing that Silver Surfer would definitely defeat Spider-Man because he could reconstruct matter in whatever manner he wanted. And somebody was like, that just means like if a building knocks down, he can rebuild it in a different way. And I'm like, no, that's not what reconstructing matter is. He has the power cosmic. Are you kidding me? And like that,
Yeah.
that stuff. And then, and at the very topmost tier, you had characters like Odin, who you had Galactus, you had Molecule Man, you had the Beyonder, you had MODOK. I think everything we've seen with MODOK has been a fine story that I don't know that it gained anything by being about that particular name or in the Marvel universe at all.
So this is very similar to what Dan Harmon's going to be doing with the Greek gods animated series, where he brings Zeus down and makes him kind of. I'm guessing he's going to make him kind of a joke, right? And
I
you
won't
you aren't
mind that.
invested in Zeus, so I don't think that's going to bother you.
Exactly.
But it's because it's something where you're like, yeah, I get it. It's fun to take, things out of context and make the great and powerful look human, but not MODOK. Don't do that. Don't do that to MODOK for you.
Yeah, and I'm trying really hard, Tom. I promise I'm not trying to stunt or anything, but it's like I think they're telling a fine story. It's just that I don't know what they've gained by having it be in the Marvel universe or having it involve MODOK in any way, like at all. Full stop.
I mean, if you want the pragmatic answer, they got people who like Marvel stuff to watch a thing made by the robot chick.
Yeah,
people.
they got us to watch it in a way we might not have otherwise.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
But Bryce, did you enjoyed it? I think you enjoyed it the most of the three of us, right?
I really enjoyed it. After last week, I watched almost all of these in one day. I think it took me 2 days just because there were so many. But like at some point, I almost because I remember we had the conversation last week, and I was like, well, how funny was it really? Because sometimes I can be kind of nonplussed, and so I don't know. The first few episodes of this pack, I started watching, and I almost thought about like keeping a log of like times that I actually out loud laughed, and it was enough times that there was no point in making a list because it would just be too many. Like I was really surprised at how much of this played, and
I don't know. That's that you needed to have a blind study though, because you were probably laughing so that you could make a mark.
But I really did enjoy it. I thought, especially by the end, which I think eventually you should watch the final episodes, Brian, if only to like it definitely completely closes the circle on a lot of the vulnerabilities of the show structure that you identified last week.
Can I throw out the possibility? Like, is this one of those like, where my 13-year-old Josie is at? Is this one that would be like? I mean, there's cartoonish gore or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think I would get more out of it rewatching it with her, or just
maybe? I think it's funny. I like it.
Yeah.
Like I think it's very interesting because this doesn't feel very Marvel-y to me at all, which is like why I think the Marvel stuff is not a big consideration either way, whether it were or were not. Whether it was BODOK instead of MODOK,
right?
Like that really
canon,
like
BRODOK.
To me, that wouldn't have changed anything. But I know when we were going and watching Lower Decks, like in my head, that was all I was thinking. I was like, well, this would be funnier to me, a person who is coming at this show from this angle. It would be funnier if just it wasn't all Star Trek and it was a lot of Star Trek. Where you get to be a little more universal if you decide to make your own universe, but that's the business of it.
Man, I kind of want to rewatch both of them because there's an almost musical quality to the comedy of each, and they're different flavors, and that's fine. They're also both telling interesting stories, which is also fine. They also happen to be in established universes that subvert everything about that established universe. And for some reason, like at a visceral, gut level, I'm attracted to Lower Decks in a way that MODOK has not. I like it. I like it in spite of the fact that it's a Marvel movie, not because of it.
Is it just because you feel that there's incompatibility with the way that they set up MODOK as a character? Or are there? I'm trying to suss out if that's the only complaint, or if there's like you also don't like the jokes, the writing, the animation. Like I don't know. I want to suss out all the criticism and see if it's just that one thing or not.
I honestly don't know, and I'm fascinated because I can tell it's well constructed, but essentially it's Ted Lasso. But I don't like that it's set in the Marvel universe. It's a ambitious dude with foundational beliefs and a ridiculous fish out of water attitude who has a stalwart companion, Coach Beard, who's with him at every step of the way, who's always got his back or whatever, who's going through a divorce and discovering things about himself and becoming a better person, while also perversely inspiring those around them. I just wonder what this would have looked like to me under a different skin. I just think
I feel like it's pretty simple, and I think you've covered it, which is it's because it's about MODOK. and you just can't. That doesn't work for you.
Well, and also I mean, it's in the Marvel universe, which
And yeah,
yeah,
right.
I don't know that it needed to be.
All right, that is
Wait,
Marvel's
you
what?
did you like it?
Yes, I said I enjoyed it. I every episode got a little bit better than the last one, and in the end, it was a nice thing to have on in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was very watchable. I mean, I talk about that a lot. And comedies, it's a little easier, but I think that's a very watchable show to me.
All right. Anything else on MODOK?
No.
All right. That is MODOK season 1. Let's talk Jupiter's Legacy, episodes 5 and 6 of the Miller World Netflix show. This is it's an 8-episode season, so we're entering into the second half with these particular episodes, and I texted you guys that I'm like, man, I really like half of Jupiter's Legacy, and that was really true of this particular set of episodes, where when we were in the past, I was all in. I was like, oh, okay, so this is where the boat's going, and oh, there's that guy, and okay, we're putting the pieces together, and how's this going to work? Is he really going to get the boat through there? Is he really going to take over? Are they going to get their superpowers here? I can't wait to find out. Is this how it happens, or is it something beyond the island? I was all in. I'm invested in all the characters, even knowing a little bit about where they're going, and the fact that George ends up being evil is interesting and it adds some spice to it. As soon as we went back to the present, I was like, I think I could take a look at something else for a little while until, I'll catch the gist of it. It's just quite a contrast for me in what captures my interest.
Tom, I am so sorry. I fundamentally misunderstood your text because it's so obvious to me that the boring ass story about the dude who is getting laid by the chick and the chick who does the drugs in modern day, super interesting. Who cares about this epic 1920s explore?
Really, you were digging the past stuff in the first few episodes. That changed for you, huh?
No, obviously I'm lying, Tom. Come on. Yeah. So, unlike MODOK, which I've really been trying to like, I've been actively trying to hate Jupiter's Legacy. Ain't been able to pull it off yet. It's been even the current day stuff. Like daughter who refuses the mantle of the utopian is wanting to get laid, taking a break, and suddenly her mom is floating outside the window like a creeper. They have a discussion about all that, like that tickled me in all the parental right ways. I keep waiting for whatever episodes are going to justify the terrible ratings that I've seen on this, but I've still continued to enjoy every single episode.
I'm not hating it at all. I'm really liking the past stuff. The present stuff is good enough. Like I said, it adds some spice to the past lore so that I care. I did get interested when Grace almost killed Baryon, and I thought she was gonna. I thought like, oh, this is where she breaks the code. And I guess no. The point of the present day story is, should we all decide to change the code given what's going on, right? It's a parable for the modern day. When you're facing opposition that is so much worse than you ever imagined, do you have to adapt your morals to deal with it? And I really thought they were going to have Grace do it and be like, yeah, Sheldon, I had to kill him. You're wrong, and split things. But they decided to go like, no, she's going to follow the code, but she's going to be unhappy about it because someone died because she followed the code.
I am super fascinated to find out how they resolve seriously crazy Sheldon with the utopian. Like, how do we go from somebody who at the last episode we've seen, third from the end,
Cover Her Face, episode 6, yeah,
freaking losing his mind, screaming at phantoms that aren't there, waving guns around, demanding people do things, and then great, congratulations, you found Skull Island, and now suddenly we're going to respect you. I don't. How do we get from here to there?
Oh, I can't wait for that too. It makes perfect sense that it would happen, right? Is we know he's going to go through a fundamental transformation. He's going to become superhero, right?
Right.
That's going to change things. There's a lot of time between then and now for him to grow and mature and learn his lessons. And also, the reason he's raving, we all know. It's because he sees his dead father. As soon as that goes away, one of the main reasons he's raving goes away as well. So I see all the entry points, but you're right. It'll be interesting to see, like, all right, how do you convince me that that journey takes place?
But at this point, at the end of the most recent episode, like he's hit bottom, and most importantly, everybody knows he's lost his mind. Full
But
stop.
they find the island,
right? But then they find the island. But it's like respect is one of those things that once lost, it's.
But you found the island.
You don't
right?
get to snap your fingers and bring back respect.
I mean, to me, it's like, this guy's lost it. Oh my God, he's crazy. And then the island shows up and they're like, oh crap, he was right. He may have sounded crazy, but he was right. We had to go through the storm and look where we are. And then they all get superpowers and suddenly, oh, got it. No, he wasn't crazy. He was a visionary. That happens all the time.
At this point, I'm fascinated that I feel about Jupiter's Legacy a little bit about how I felt with spoilers for another Star Wars related show. There was a character that showed up de-aged and people had opinions on, and it bothered me not at all that moment. It bothered me a lot how bad the old people makeup is on everybody at the beginning.
Okay, that has not been bothering me at all, and this is not the first time you brought it up. But go ahead, finish your thought.
Correct, but now I am joining your side where it's like I'm just not seeing it. I'm just understanding. Yeah, dude, no, this is 100-year span of a story. They're gonna look, young, air quotes, at one point, and also, old, air quotes, at the other point.
I wonder, this is total headcanon, and it may be just me rationalizing, but I'm like, maybe the only thing that ages about them is their hair color. Because the superpowers.
Well, I mean, certainly that's how they've decided to do makeup for what's her name, because she looks like there she is.
The mother looks very young in the show, the episode that I saw.
I don't know, next to her daughter. In fact, I would definitely hit on the mother instead of the daughter.
Honestly, all of them look like they're pretty much the same, except, Sheldon's got long hair and a beard, but otherwise, and it's gray. Otherwise, he doesn't look that different.
Yeah. Sorry. Now I'm thinking about how attractive what's her name is.
Okay.
Grace. Yeah. Sheldon, it's Sheldon's wife you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to steal her away. Sorry, Sheldon. I'm coming for her. All of a sudden, the walls cave in.
Bryce, what about yourself? Have you started watching this at all?
I have still only seen 2 episodes or so of
Got it.
Okay. It seems interesting, but I just haven't gotten back to it.
Dude, to put a button on everything.
Should I just skip to because next week we're doing the final 2 episodes of the season. Is it a thing where if I just skip to the end, is it going to be a bit?
I mean, I think because you've been hearing us describe it, maybe that would be okay. I wouldn't normally recommend it, but
I would actually, let me give you a hybrid solution. Watch everything from the 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and the moment you get to modern day, like old people, current crap, who cares? And then go back to 1920s.
Yeah, that might work too.
Maybe. Yeah. I'll probably just stick with skipping the middle 6, the final 2. But it'll be interesting. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
I watch episode 7.
Okay.
Wait, 7? No, 6.
6?
I would watch episode 6 because I think the arrival at the island is
the last 15 minutes. Or
whatever. Exactly.
It's somebody who's he's gambled everything and has nothing, literally has nothing, and they're at a point of no return, and it turns out he was right. Spoiler.
Any other thoughts on Jupiter's Legacy?
No. When does it get bad, Tom? Why do people not like it as much as they should? It must be
the present day stuff, and they just don't care about the past. I don't know.
I guess.
Yeah. That is Jupiter's Legacy, episodes 5 and 6. Let's talk about Hannibal, season 2, episode 13. This is the season finale of the second of 3 seasons, Mitsumono.
It's
Jack
great.
and Hannibal have a fight. Also, we get some surprise appearances. Not the least of which is Abigail, which I knew it.
Caught
I
it.
knew she was
I-
still
I knew
around.
it.
We
I
all
knew it.
called it. I mean,
We all called it.
how hard is it to cut off an ear? Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, but
I
I'm
kept
just gonna
looking
say
to
this
see
whole
her ear.
season.
I was like,
This whole season, I've been the one pointing it out. Oh, we haven't seen Abigail yet. Oh, they didn't show the body.
Yep.
Show the body.
That's
great.
And Hannibal forgives Graham for the betrayal, but then he takes off because he knows that they're onto him. He is the Chesapeake Ripper,
And
he's
he attacks
attacked
everybody.
Jack. So, and if Jack lives, he's he's done for. And then he's aboard a plane with Dr. Dumaurier. Gillian Anderson's coming back for another season.
Oh, that was after the credits. Sorry, Brian. We forgot
You
to tell you
sons
to watch
of
the thing after
you
the end of the
sons
credits.
of biscuits! You guys, we had this whole thing, and you were like, "Why don't you go watch it?" And I went all the way to the credits, and I was like, "Okay, that was a mind-blowing
forgot.
thing."
Sorry.
I
And then
forgot
I
it was
came
after the credits
right
until
back.
Bryce just said it just now.
Because I forgot about it the second time I watched this episode. I'm sorry. She's there.
All right.
They're on a French plane. The thing that happens is they're on a French plane, or the flight attendant is French, and they're offering drinks, and he takes a champagne, and the attendant goes to the next seat over and at the aisle, and it's Dr. Dumaurier, and she says, "No, thank you for me." French.
Okay. Well, now my mind's been blown twice. Yeah. So this was a weird one where I ran out of time, and it was advised like, just skim until the last 2 minutes, and then I thought I had done that, but apparently there was another mind-blowing experience.
And honestly, you should watch this entire episode.
I will.
But it really is stab, 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 stab. Abigail. Stab,
Sure,
stab, stab.
I actually didn't like the
Credits.
Abigail stuff.
Dumaurier. Yeah,
Like, because
that is the episode.
Because I mean, look at where we're at the end of this episode, right? Jack is got a huge gash in his neck. He'll probably be fine because 8 different people called the EMTs.
Yeah.
Will got is that
Also
technically
because he's Lawrence Fishburne.
also yes. Did Will get disemboweled? Is that technically what that across the stomach cut is?
It was not 100%.
Yeah.
Given the rules of this universe, I remember seeing that scene and thinking, well, certainly by any other television show standards, he is definitely dead.
But he's definitely coming back.
However,
Yeah.
But Abigail's
definitely dead.
I mean, with this series, I still want to see them go, gosh, here's Abigail, definitely dead, and we've signed the death warrant. But yeah, no, it seemed like they were trying to make it clear, like, yeah, this one didn't survive. The other 2 might.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I mean, there really is no might to Jack because Jack's a character in the Silence of the Lambs after he's been caught and all that stuff, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I guess
so
I did not
it's
know.
like there's no tension there. Maybe on Will
True,
Graham,
true.
but the mere fact of any amount of ambiguity. So what? Maybe Will Graham's in a wheelchair for the next season or whatever.
Right. I mean, he was a serial killer this season, so they can do whatever at this point. This is such a weird episode because it's very weirdly paced. Like it is very slow up until the last end of season kind of cliffhangers. G. James B has a good question. Did they not know there would be another season? And I think you could look at the end of this season finale and say they probably tried to wrap it up really quick just in case.
I mean,
They wanted a plausible way to, yeah. I'm sure there's an actual answer to this out there, and we don't know it. But if I had to guess, it would be they wrote it with an escape door to be like, we could just leave it, or if we're getting another season, we can show Hannibal on a plane and indicate where we're going for next season. And I think you would have got a different ending to this episode if they didn't get a season 3. This episode definitely you wouldn't end this series
that's
going
interesting.
like,
So
maybe
you're saying-
Jack and Will are dead. I don't know.
Right,
You would have.
you're saying
you only leave that when you know that you've got another season to explain. Oh, Jack and Will survived, and here's how.
you can essentially A/B test the finale of the the second season and then just wait till the last minute to find out which one you should run.
Yeah, a lot of times if shows on the bubble, they'll write the episode in a way where they can shoot it either way. Like, okay, we've got a written episode and we can either do this ending or this ending depending on how we want to wrap it up. That's happened before.
And I think if they're unsure, or I think if they think that it's a possibility that this is the last episode, if they don't know if they're getting renewed.
Okay. The authority on Hannibal in my world, Anthony Carboni, is in our chat room.
Yep.
And he's saying they definitely did not know they were coming back. Also, season 3 goes places
because of how wild season 3 is, he says. Yeah, I think if they thought this would be the finale, I think they would have given even more of a conclusion. But I think they kind of ended up in a good. No, or what I'm saying is, I think they ended up in a good place where even if this was the finale, the way that we watched it, you could still go, okay, well, now everyone has a reason to not like Hannibal if they show up in other Hannibal universe things.
I want to believe that at some point here's the great mentalist trick. Say everything, take credit for your hits. I am certain at some point I talked about the idea of Hannibal, like you wrap it up, he goes underground, and now he's a monster that comes out whenever he wants. And so there's a bit of satisfaction to seeing that kind of being the ending to it. But I mean, first, question, thing we genuinely do not know, and don't you spoil it for us, Anthony Carboni, who I'm not reading in the chat right now. Do we expect to see the three of us not knowing whether or not Will Graham will be back next season?
At the end of season 3 or going into season 3?
Do we expect to see what?
Will Graham?
Oh, yeah. No, Will Graham's coming back. If we have a season 3, Will Graham's in it.
Even though he was disemboweled right in front of us.
Yeah.
Okay. Because he was only disemboweled in front of us.
Yeah.
He was only,
and he was moving towards the end.
Like the only person who is definitely dead is Alana, who fell out of a 10-story window. Like she's the only person who's definitely dead, and she had the weakest injury.
Wait, not even what's her name?
I mean, Abigail seems pretty dead, but
at least.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely Alana is dead.
Alana,
we don't want any more female characters
Alana
on this show,
yeah.
apparently.
There's a crazy way you could bring Abigail back. I don't think they do. But Alana, you can't. Yeah, she's gone.
Yeah.
They left themselves no wiggle room.
I feel like leaving her alive also it didn't do anything for me. It was fun to see her like, oh, she was alive the whole time, but it felt like that revelation did nothing
Abigail?
for me. Yeah, Abigail.
To be honest, it felt like, you were wondering. Let's just stop you from wondering anymore.
Yeah. I think that you bring her back to show like, aha, see, you were wondering. Here she is, cut her throat. She drops to the ground. There's no sitting there with dialogue for Abigail to sow seeds of doubt. She's just like, oh, I can't stop. And Will tries to help her and he can't, and she's gone.
Well, and plus also, imagine if they hadn't made it abundantly clear that Abigail was out of the picture. Then let's say there was some kind of mystery killer of literally any bent in season 3. Then it's like, well, could it be Abigail?
Yeah,
it's they're like, we don't want you thinking about none of that.
Okay, now here's the part of the reason why the Abigail reveal didn't do anything for me is because it made me ask this question immediately. Didn't we have a whole court case about the death of Abigail?
Yeah, because they declared her dead without finding her body. They never said they found her body. They said,
I thought that they did.
Nope.
Oh, I don't like that either. I'm glad they are patching that plot hole, but that's not the way I understood.
It's not a plot hole. I don't consider it a plot hole at all. The court case was, who did he murder? And it's like, we have evidence that he murdered Abigail. He has her ear, and she disappeared. There's no trace of her. No, we don't have a body, but we can all but assume she's dead based on this evidence. And that,
which is not how I read any of that. I always read it as read it as
it was like a press release that she's definitely not dead.
I mean, my thoughts are wrong.
Wow.
But because they kept saying they kept insinuating that they had the body, and I don't think that they were explicit that they did not have her body. I think that
they were, but you may be right. I may have been reading into it
because immediately, Will is arrested for her death, and they're not going to let him go to the scene of the crime
because he ate her ear.
That does tend to happen when somebody vomits up the ear of a lost person.
Yeah, that's normally it's pretty rare to eat somebody's ear and they're still alive around.
I mean, we
Maybe-
could try.
where
We could
y'all
play
go,
around.
but-
I don't know.
Bryce, whose ear would you like to eat?
Don't ask me questions you don't want to answer. I just thought it was a very interesting. I don't consider it a plot hole. I said plot hole erroneously, but it definitely just shone a light on a thing in a way that it wasn't even that I got fooled. It was just I didn't apparently understand it right.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same way
All
you
right,
all did.
all right.
But
Great fight scene. I enjoyed that too.
it was great.
Stab.
I only saw it in 1 second increments as I scrubbed through right before the show. I look
right.
forward to seeing the full thing.
The moment of Hannibal as Alana's walking in is so great. That the little monologue he gives her of like, you can live your life blind.
Oh,
and you
that's
can,
right.
You can not be here right now.
You
and
can
you
not
can
see this.
be great. And
He actually cared for her. I did not believe he cared for her. I thought she was entirely being manipulated, but there were some feelings there of like, oh man, I really don't want to have to kill you, you know?
Yeah.
Well, in a similar way, I do believe at all times Hannibal was not lying when he says he wants Will to be his friend.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he'll kill him if he has to, but he'd rather be his friend or both.
Right.
Whatever.
What's a life to a god?
It all works. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody dies. That's the way Hannibal looks at it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Part of me just wants to keep on doing the show just for Anthony Carboni, but we got to shut down.
We
I think my favorite is plot hole, more like ear hole, Bryce.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
check listeners, check the show notes for what you're listening to now. We're going to let you know if we decide to change Hannibal, and that's a radio tease to After Talk today. But keep it
Correct. That is it for Hannibal season 2, episode 13. Next time on Spoiler in Time, which will be June 14th, we're taking a week off next week. We will be talking about Loki, the first episode. We'll be talking about the final 2 episodes of Jupiter's Legacy, and we'll be talking about at least the first episode of season 3 of Hannibal. Possibly 2. So look in the show notes for a definitive, or listen to After Talk on Patreon. Until we spoil you on June 14th, thanks for supporting us, patreon.com/Cordkillers, and we shall spoil you in 2 weeks.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.